Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the BCA-SISO-SCAL webinar, Community of Practice on Safe Management Measures. We are very grateful to have the Singapore Institute of Safety Officers, SISO, and the Singapore Contractors Association Limited, SCAL, in joining us today to organize this live webinar. With more projects approved for restart, construction activities are resuming at a faster pace. This webinar will share with you some of the good practices of safe management measures implemented on projects that have already restarted to inspire good planning and execution in other projects. Before we start, please note that as participants, you're on mute setting. Should you have any question about the discussion topics, you may do so by clicking on the Q&A button on your screen to type in your inquiries. When we get to the Q&A session at the end of this webinar, we will also be activating the raise hand function to take live questions from the audience. Should you wish to ask a question verbally at that time, do click the raise hand icon. Do also note that when the session ends, you will be directed to access an evaluation form after you have exited the webinar. Once submitted, you will be able to download the speaker's presentation materials via the website as shown. Today, we are pleased to have Engineer Chew Kiat Chuan, Group Director, Building Engineering and Commissioner of Building Control, BCA, Mr. Bernard So, President of SISO, and Mr. Roy Khoo, Assistant Secretary General of SCAL, to co-chair the session. Together with them, from BCA, we have Mr. Goh Tiam Lai, Deputy Director, Quality and Certification Department, Engineer Shermaine Fang, Senior Engineer, Strategic Engineering Project Department, Mr. Ted Chan, Executive Manager, Procurement Policies Department, and Mr. Abner Wee, Executive Manager, Green Building Policy Department. For SMOs and SDOs who have successfully completed the course on Safe Management Officers course for construction with BCA Academy in June and July, but have not received your e-certificates, we are still sorting out the administrative details for some, and you will be expecting to receive the e-certificates by the 31st of August. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us invite our webinar co-chairs to deliver their welcome remarks. Let us welcome Engineer Chew, Mr. So, and Mr. Khoo, please.
Good morning, everyone. Chew Kiat Chuan here from BCA. I just want to say two things. First is that we have actually given approval to almost all the projects, in particular the major projects. All approval has been given. Okay, and then second point is that BCA, we have this audit and inspection team. So we set up this team is to conduct site inspection to make sure that the safe management measures are put in place. In particular, the segregation of workers between different teams, and also the need to have this NRIC safe entry before the workers can report, can go to the site and work. And later I will share what are the outcome of this audit that we have found out with the participants. That's all from me. Roy, can you take over?
Hi, good morning. I'm Roy from SCAL. Well, this is an unprecedented time for all of us, and I think as we know more about the virus and more about how it spreads and the dangers, we definitely have to adapt and tweak our measures as we go. At the same time, try to be as pragmatic as possible to ensure that business continues. Right. So hopefully the sharing from today from the gentlemen from the various construction companies will help all of us. I think just as with safety matters, it's always good to share good practices and good ideas as it benefits the whole industry. Right. Thanks.
Mr.
Hi,
Saw?
good morning. Bernard here. Great to have all you in this webinar. Just a bit of trivial. You probably knows that there's a vaccine that Russia is so-called using out right now. And to date, you probably knows that there is about 6 vaccines in the third phase. What I'm saying all this, what is going to happen is the new norms is going to stay, because to have the whole global vaccination to complete it, earliest is 2022. So this MMM is going to be dynamic, things that's going to be moving. So our mindset needs to be there. It's not just for a couple of months and things will go away. Why I'm saying that, because when I go to the ground, I get some feedback and some of them is thinking that, hey, it's just a couple of months, vaccine is here and everybody's going to be free. It's not going to happen just overnight. Just bear that in mind. There's a good sharing here. So take it back and continue to improve your SMM on site. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Chew, Mr. So, and Mr. Koo. Now we move on to the presentations. First up, we have Mr. Goh Tiam Lai, Deputy Director, Quality and Certification Department, BCA, who will be sharing on the findings and good practices observed during audit and inspection on project sites and supply works premises. Mr. Goh, over to you, please. Mr. Goh, you may start presenting.
Sure. Okay, good morning to all. Hi, I'm Tiam Lai, and I'll be sharing with you the key findings and good practices observed from BCA's audit and inspection carried out at work sites and supply work premises over the last 2.5 months. Now, this is the outline of my presentation. BCA has to date approved close to 3,400 work sites and supply work premises for restart. To ensure restart at work sites are carried out in a sustained and effective COVID-safe manner, all construction projects, supply work premises need to comply with the 3 COVID-safe restart criteria as shown, namely COVID-safe workforce, COVID-safe worker accommodation and transportation, and COVID-safe site. As the BE sector restarts, we are reminded of the COVID risk posed by the worker accommodation worksite arrangement among various project parties. Now, what happened at Project Glory is a case in point. At the time when it became the largest construction site cluster, it was linked to 6 dormitories. At this point of time, sad to say, there is no vaccines or medicine for COVID. The only real action is to implement safe management measures, in short SMM, and to contain and quickly when it happens. How well SMM are observed will be key to avoiding COVID outbreaks at work sites. Our BCA has set up an audit and inspection team to check on effective implementations of the new measures at work sites, supply work premises, and to learn and to share good practices quickly. Our key objectives are ensuring safe access, achieving safe distancing, and providing containment. The builder and its subcontractors and workers play the most crucial role in keeping the work sites COVID safe. The key things for project parties to look out for are implementing a robust entry control systems, such as implementing safe entry NRIC version, having only approved workers entering the sites, and ensuring that roving subcontractors and visitors do not mix with workers on site. Appointing adequate SMO, SDO to ensure SMMs are adhered to on sites, proper segregation of teams, work zones, and having staggered lunch break for different teams of workers, prevent mixing at communal facilities, at canteen or rest areas which are hotspots for spread of virus, and providing prepacked meals, ensuring all the site personnel turn on their Trace Together apps. Now, establishing a COVID plus response plan, which covers ensuring the affected zones are cordoned off, isolation of workers, cleaning and disinfecting the affected areas, and informing relevant authorities. Now, in a more recent case, there was an outbreak caused by the mixing of workers across work zones, common facilities, company transportation, and workers' residence. 6 COVID cases were first confirmed among an 8-man team working in the middle work zone of the project sites. This later led to 356 close contact workers to be quarantined. Investigation shows that the main causes of outbreak were workers from different work zones shared common lunch and rest areas. Workers across the 3 work zones took the same company transport to workers' residence, and workers from different work zones actually shared common residence and have social interactions. The outbreak has a great impact on the project. MOH subsequently served stop work order. The entire work site was closed and has to carry out thorough disinfection. The entire block of workers' residence was also locked down, with 77 workers conveyed to government quarantine facilities and 144 quarantined in situ. The key lessons learned from these projects are: builders should cohort workers according to work zones. There should not be any mixing of different cohorts during transportation and in places of residence to prevent cross-infections. Builders should segregate workers from different work zones and stagger the use of common lunch and rest areas. What are the roles and responsibilities of SMO? They are expected to coordinate the implementation of safe management measures, conduct regular inspections and checks, take immediate action to remedy any non-compliances on SMM, brief the SDO team on corrective actions, keep records of inspections and checks carried out, and review regularly the SMMs. Now I will share on BCA's key audit findings from inspections carried out at work sites and supply work premises over the last 2.5 months. So far, we have inspected more than 1,900 project sites, with most of them being smaller projects. The top non-compliances observed are mismatch in entry records with approved workers list, safe entry NRIC not installed and used, missing SMM monitoring plan on site, inadequate number of SDOs, SMOs, meals are not provided in the individually packed manner, and no isolation sick bays at site. I will cover these non-compliances in more details in my subsequent slides. Now, on mismatch in sites entry records with BCA's approved whitelist, the main reasons are: SMO did not realize that workers were rejected. The builders just submitted updated personnel list to BCA, but hasn't been approved. Builders added the manpower to site to cope with the worker shortfall, but did not submit the new list to BCA. And builders submitted new manpower to BCA, but did not include the previous approved list of personnel. SMO did not know that they themselves and essential workers, Singaporeans, PR, subcons have to be included in the list. Now, the builder and SMO must not deploy any non-approved workers personnel at site until they are approved by BCA to work at site. Builders will receive this email when their restart application is approved. They are also guided to update BCA on the project schedule every 3 months, or if there are changes to the manpower deployment or place of accommodations of their approved site personnel via the respective links as highlighted in this slide. The approval emails also list out personnel not permitted to work at site with reasons as shown for builders to follow up. Only approved personnel are allowed to work on site. For changes to manpower deployment or places of accommodations of workers permitted to work at the project site, you can resubmit the revised documents via applications to restart construction works and supply works through the link as shown in this slide. Select modification of previously approved applications under the submission type. Remember to quote the previous approved application number. And remember to include the previous list of approved personnel, updating on the new additions in the submissions. Otherwise, the new approved whitelist will only have the new additions. Another key findings is sites are using safe entry systems to manage personnel, visitors entering the site, but it is not the SE NRC version, which is linked to MOM's access code. You will need to enable the restriction at CMP, short for Construction, Marine and Process worksite icon as shown before the scanner can show the access code, green or red of personnel or visitors entering the site. Projects should only allow personnel, visitors with access code green to enter the site. Another key findings is the absence of SMM Monitoring Plan, which is meant to help the SMO, SDO track compliance of safe management measures implemented on site. SMM Monitoring Plan should cover the following. Should have a segregation plan, cohorting plan for workers, COVID plus and suspected case control and management plan, site communication plan, system to track non-compliance issues, and system to prevent SMM breaches. In the SMM monitoring plan, builders should establish an evacuation plan for suspected COVID cases, which covers the following. Builders should provide adequate sick bay for timely segregation of suspected cases. Builders should convey workers to clinic as soon as possible. Any employees who are showing symptoms of illness should report to the employer, leave the workplace, and consult a doctor immediately. Our builders must track and record these cases as part of the safe management measures. There should also be a follow-up plan confirm COVID plus cases, which addresses the following. SMO to immediately vacate and cordon off the immediate section of the workplace premises where the confirmed case worked. The team that the confirmed worker belonged to should be put into isolation. The builder should carry out a thorough cleaning and disinfect the entire site in accordance with NEA guidelines. And they should inform BCA of any confirmed cases immediately. Another key finding is inadequate number of SMO and SDOs on site. For a site that has less than 10 workers, the site has to provide at least an SMO. Any site with more than 10 to less than 50 workers, there should be at least an SMO and one SDO. And any sites with more than 50 workers, we should have at least an SMO and one SDO for every multiple 50 workers. Now the SMO and SDO must be present on site at all times when work are being carried out. If they go on leave, there must be another SMO or SDO on site to cover him or her. Safety officers, environmental control officers, safety supervisors, engineers can cover an SMO as long as they are registered with BCA in the restart application. Another key findings is the cooking of meals at site, mainly at sites with CTQ or TLQ. Cooking is not allowed on site to ensure workers do not share meals, which increases the risk of contamination and spread of virus. The last key findings is the non-provision of fully enclosed sick bay or the isolation of suspected COVID personnel from the healthy workers. Here are two examples of improper sick bay which do not serve the intent of isolating suspected COVID plus personnel. In addition, sites should install the SG WorkPass apps and use it to check the access code of workers. Now you can tap on the access code color bar to find out why it is red. Sites should only allow workers whose access code is green to work. All site personnel should install the latest TT apps in their mobile devices, which will facilitate contact tracing in the event of COVID plus cases. The Bluetooth has to be turned on at all times for TT to work. I will now share on the good practices that we observe from the audits and inspection. This slide shows some of the good practices observed during our site inspections. As you can see, segregated entrance exits for different teams to prevent mixing, implementation of clear safe distancing measures, and markings at common lunch and rest areas, clear display of zoning plans and who are the SMO, SDO, use of digital scanning devices to track temperature of site personnel, conduct of briefing on SMM to workers prior to start of work, providing individually packed meals to reduce the risk of contamination. Other good practices observed during site inspections include having staggered work hours, rest breaks to prevent mixing, SMO using smart device to track compliance of SMM, site install BCA feedback poster for whistleblower to report on SMM non-compliance, clear display of work zones to prevent mixing, using the safe entry NRIC to track entry of site personnel, providing visual identifiers such as colored armband, wristband to prevent mixing. Next, I'll share on some common non-compliances observed at site. Here are some images of non-compliances found during our site inspections, which are areas for improvements. As you can see here, on the left, you see workers blatantly not wearing masks, allowing workers with access code to enter the site, providing improper sick bay, which will not serve the intent of isolating COVID plus or suspected cases, cooking in TRQ, which greatly increases the risk of contamination when workers share food. BCA will take enforcement actions against work sites that do not conform to SMM requirements. I've come to an end of my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goh, for the sharing. Next, we have Mr. Muhammad Abdul Tahir, WSHE Officer from WarHub Private Limited, who will share their implemented good practices of safe management measures at their projects. Mr. Muhammad, over to you, please.
Hi, a very good morning to all of you all. And my name is Muhammad Abu Tahir from Wahab, currently at C821A project, and I'll be presenting to you all the SMM implementation in the project. Okay, just an introduction of the projects. Okay, current project title is Kim Chuan Depot Extension, which consists of MRT depot and a bus depot. Developer owner will be Land Transport Authority, LTA. Main contractor is Wahab Private Limited. Consultant is RCY, and client is LTA, and project completion date will be 2026. Okay, this is basically a geographical view of the entire site. Okay, we got consists of 6 different zones: Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, Zone D, Zone E, and Zone G. You see the view which is highlighted in blue is Zone A, B, C, and Zone D is highlighted in red, and Zone E and G is highlighted in green. As I proceed on with my presentation, I'll be explaining more on the implementation of the entire zones and each and every respective zone. Okay, this is a safe. This is the entry control which we have currently doing a Hubble thermal scanner, which is a contactless face recognition with built-in temperature recording. And it performs facial recognition and temperature screening in about a second. And it also capable of recognizing while a person is wearing a mask and recognizing and alerting abnormal or high temperatures. So the first point of thing is if this Hubble system will be at the facial recognition will be at all the gates of the entire sites. We got totally got around 6 gates. So each gates we have implemented this harbor system, whereby the security personnel is beside. But good part on one of the advantage of this harbor system is you can register the personal name and the FIN number. So it will shows that access granted. If you see the first one, the second picture, access granted for this person and stranger, whereby we can keep track of person coming in and going out. The registration will be done for the workers and the supervisors is only after the SMM induction, which is they've completed, which Wahab will be doing to them once they come back to work. So for this, the second row is the vehicle entrance. We have in place a camera system which captures the vehicle number plate for entrance and exit purpose. And furthermore, the driver will come down from the vehicle to do a safe entry. So this system will capture the vehicle number in and out to have keep a record for 2 to 3 months to keep a record that how many vehicles are coming in and going out. Okay, this is a 1 meter safe distance marking to guide workers maintaining 1 meters because due to the project site is quite big and the workers number of subcontractors and workers are quite huge. So we put up for all the gates the 1 meter marking on the floor and at the same time do a safe entry point. So each and every gates we have implemented the safe entry for the workers to go in and out of the site. Okay, this is a visual display informations. Okay, for mainly to remind workers on the basic measures in place. Like for example, always maintain 1 meter distance. Symptoms of the COVID-19, staggered lunch time for a specific contractor at the rest area, which I'll be explaining in detail in my following slide. Okay, for sitting plan arranged to meet safe distance requirements with a divider in place in between as to prevent face-to-face interaction during lunchtime and break. On-site hand washing facilities and drinking point for every rest area for individual zones, and staggered timing for the contractors for lunchtime and for tea breaks to prevent contractors to mix and match with other dormitory personnel. And hand wash foot pedal as to prevent the workers from touching the lever of the water pipes to turn on or turn off the pipes, and the workforce tend to use frequently. So actually we implemented this foot pedal just to operating by pressing the foot pedal on the lever itself, and segregation board for all hand washing areas. We are using this aqua blower, power blower as to disinfect the rest area after each shift of contractors lunchtime, because due to a large number of contractors, we actually do a staggered timing for the contractors who are working in this project, and each and every shift has been finished. We arrange our ECO personnel, ECO workers to disinfect the entire rest area. And the alcohol, we use an alcohol-based solution used to disinfect. The proportion is of 5 ml alcohol-based solution mixed with 1 liter of water as per supplier's specification. Okay, we have increased the number of portable toilets at the respective zones according to the number of subcontractors working in that specific zone. This infect station has been placed at all the portable toilets to increase the frequency of cleaning the toilets. Segregate toilets cubicles for individual contractors at the canteen area, and site rest area and canteen area provided with foot pedals, as I mentioned before. Okay, automatic hand-free sanitizer point has been installed at locations where there is high frequency of human movement area, for example, office areas and rest areas. Okay, and if you see this, it's basically it's called RFID. Okay, all individual access points for the respective zones are equipped with a RFID gantry. The term RFID means radio frequency identification device. Okay, this helps to control and monitor the subcontractors' movements to the zones they are allocated to work. It works by registering the particulars of an individual in an RFID chip tag and place the tag on the helmet itself. And the RFID gantry captures the time in and time out of the individual to the respective zone. So this actually is using in most of the LTA site, LTA project sites, and we're using this to control the workers from moving from one zone to another zone. It helps in contact tracing in the event of a suspected or positive COVID-19 case and for emergency situation. The record remains in the system for at least 6 months. Okay, separate access for individual zones. Since just now as I highlighted, we have totally got around 6 zones. So each and every zones will be provided separate access, and at the same time, the RFID gantry, as I mentioned in the previous slide, will be in place at the entrance of the access. Okay, signages and barricades provided for individual zones to prevent personnel to cross over to another zones. So it minimize the people from working in only the specific zone. Okay, a separate induction will be conducted to all the staff and subcontractors by the SMO to highlight the measure implemented according to the safe measures and monitoring plans. At the same time, highlight the basic requirements of COVID-19. And at the same time, we'll highlight to them where is the sick bay location and the holding area. After completing the SMM induction, we'll do up the registration for the face recognition by the Hubble system. At the same time, we'll counter check the personal subcontractor's name, workforce name, according to the BCA approval list. And appointment will be given to the personnel like SMO, SDO, or CSW according to the training. So after the circuit breaker, once we get approval from BCA, once we ask our contractors to come and work, first thing they have to attend this safe induction course. Okay, these are the letter of appointment for SMO, SDO, and CSWL. For all our zones, for the project, we got 6 zones, and individual zones we got separate SMO and SDO. Okay, this to identify the person on which trade. I mean, this is the SDO tag, arm tag for SDO, SMO, and helmet sticker for CSWL. Okay, this is to identify to which trade or organization does he belong to according to the color code once he have attended the SMM induction. So once we finish our SMM induction, we'll give them the color coding for the helmets for the respective subcons according to the trade or organization they belongs to. Since we have 6 zones, okay, we differentiate the people personnel by giving a different color code system for each and individual zones. And at the same time, we have a running number on the helmet itself. So the running number will indicate, basically will tell us which dormitory does them belong to. Because if we got a training contractors coming from each and different dormitories, so we'll just give a running number for each and every dormitory they're coming from. So from there, we will monitor that by the numbering system, we will monitor that this worker belongs to the dormitory which we have in the master list. Okay, health declaration will be done daily, twice in the morning, in the afternoon, by all the contractors and staffs, and it works by scanning the QR code. Okay, for office table with physical demarcation to prevent face-to-face interaction, and staff transport vehicle has been arranged to different timings, and one trip each completed, the vehicle will be disinfected by a handheld blower. This handheld blower is a smaller version of just now, which I was talking about, the aqua blower, which we use for rest areas. It is the location for meeting points for office staff and content and subcons. But we try to emphasize on telling our staffs and subcons to communicate by WhatsApp or Zoom, Teams meeting, or by phone call. But in the event they have to meet, come and meet talk about drawings, all drawings and plannings. So we have made a meeting area just outside the office. So subcontractors are not allowed to enter Wahab or LTA office, and Wahab and LTA is not allowed to enter the subcons office. Okay, from here I'll end my presentation, and thank you for giving us to show us the SMM implementation for our project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for sharing that. Next, we have Mr. Cheng Chun Kiet, WSHE Officer from Straits Construction Private Limited, who will be sharing their safe management measures implemented at the HDB project at Tengah. Mr. Cheng, over to you, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Cheng Chun Kiet from Straits Construction. Today, I'm going to present on the implementation of the effective safe management measures on both sides. For Straits Construction, we value our vision, mission, and core values. These are the following contents we are going to present. Okay, the project introduction, safe accommodation, safe workforce, safe work site, and innovation for SMMP. For our project, our client is HDB. Construction period will be from January 2019 to February 2021. For implementation of effective safe management measures at Tengah Plantation C3 include prevention of any future COVID-19 outbreak or spread of infection on both sides, create a safe work protect workers, employees, and the wider public community, be able to contain any new cluster and not have widespread impact. In a controlled manner, allow workers to continue to work and all stakeholders to adapt to the new normal. For safe accommodation on-site dormitory, implementation was carried out to reduce the intermixing of workers at the on-site dormitory, room arrangement by team, group, work zone, no communal activities, no mixing of workers between subcontractor rooms, maintain safe distancing measures of 1 meter at all time, no group gathering or discussion is allowed, all resident dormitory to wear reusable or surgical masks at all time. Appointed dormitory SDO to ensure there is safe distancing measure at the dormitory at all time. Appointed COVID safe worker leader for the dormitory to ensure safe distancing within the dormitory room. For signage and posters also put up at the dormitory to inform dormitory residents for any mental health to report or find assistance from agency. For liaison and briefing to contractor priority to start work, we have to ensure that the dormitory is clean and cleared by MOM before the contractors are allowed to enter the site. Declaration of SHN served, swab test done. Also, obtain certification from dormitory to certify the workers. Subcontractors to brief their workers to adhere to the SDM procedure. Subcontractors to ensure their workers have capability in installing QR to access together app and SG Work Pass. All workers to attend COVID safe training for operators, mechanic, workers, and others. For workers, failure to attend the COVID safe training for workers are required to complete the COVID safe training within 4 weeks upon the work restart for the worksite. Failure to do so shall not be allowed to enter the worksite. For COVID-19 safety induction training, all subcontractors to send email to inform of any new or existing workers within a week notice period before entering the site. Training to be conducted using the Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams meeting. Last, will be informing all subcontractors on the fixed group of the on-site dormitory and inbound workers on the allocated timing to enter the worksite. For pre-screening and progressively screening of dormitory resident and inbound supervisors and workers at guardhouse, we impose straight round the clock 24/7 entry and exit by entrance guard authorized personnel. We also have to adhere to safe distancing measure within the on-site dormitory and dormitory rules and regulations. Adhere to safe distancing measures for all on-site dormitory resident and inbound personnel while entering and exiting the worksite. All dormitory supervisors and workers to complete the swab test. Avoid any cross-contamination between inbound personnel and current dormitory resident with staggered arrival and exit time. To keep comply with the authority, direction, and instruction. Every work pass holders, Singapore citizens, PR, to conduct swab tests once every 2 weeks for construction. Ensure all swab test is conducted and test negative before he or she is allowed to work. Ensure update LIMDIS is in accordance to BCA approved list and permit to work is submitted to each work zone IC for subsequent endorsement. For education of good practice and practice good hygiene, personal hygiene, includes COVID-19 related poster and information display on site, educate stakeholders on site on safe commute work and personal wellness practices, subcontractor supervisors to educate the workers daily during toolbox meeting on the good practices and awareness on the COVID-19. These are the following items that I'm going to go through for safe work site. For transport to and from site includes employers, transport providers, and drivers must ensure safe management measures are implemented when ferrying workers on or employer provide transportation. All workers to wear reusable or surgical masks at all times while seated. Workers are not allowed to interact, talk at all times while traveling. If you are taking a lorry or van, make sure there's a clear floor space of 0.496 square meter. Worker on each zone need to be working in same zone according to BCA approved LIMDIS submitted. Drivers are not allowed to enter the work site. So for supervision and managing vehicles arriving on site, the subcom for their site procedure may take time. Ensure vehicle stop at designated areas for disembarkation and move off quickly Establish a traffic controller to guide the incoming subcontractor, lorry or buses to prevent cross-contamination between other zone or dormitory subcontractor. Subcontractor driver also have to adhere to the traffic controller instruction on the sequence to let the supervisor and worker to exit the lorry. For pre-screening purpose, all employment work pass holder to show their SG work pass status, ensure that it is under green status and allowed to carry out work. If SG work pass status is under red status, he or she will not be allowed to enter the work site. For pre-screening also, all personnel are required to undergo the safe entry NRRC scanning by security guard or appointed person, conducted the scanning using the Trace Together app, barcode, or NRRC scanning upon entering the work site. Pre-screening also conducted, okay, for all personnel entering the work site to undergo the portable thermometer temperature screening and declare their health and temperature status twice a day. For zone safe entry QR code, okay, scanning for all personnel before entering the individual zone. Okay, this is, we have to verify that personnel particulars are in accordance to the BCA approved list before he or she is allowed to work. For site zoning, include segregation of site into zones based on area of work activity. Demarcation barricade with color to be provided to ensure clear visibility of each zone. Okay, workers in each zone must be accounted for according to the BCA list. Crossing between zones is strictly not permitted unless unauthorized. Staggered work reporting time to reduce possible conjunction of workers, supervisor, toilets are located at each zone. Each zone must have a allocated zone in charge SDO to oversee the individual zone and report to SMO. And lastly will be the SMO and SDO will have to conduct inspection regularly to ensure SDM are compliant. Okay, based on this graphic, this is the whole layout of my project, which is separated into 4 different zones: Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, and Zone D. For each zone, there is a dedicated toilet area, rest area, hand wash area, and postal information, including toolbox meeting area for them, and including designated entrance and exit to the respective zone. Okay, for each zone, we have different stickers, okay, based on the helmet, okay, to showcase which individual personnel working at which zone, okay, so that we can prevent them from crossing to another zone. Just for your info, in order to prevent them from crossing to another zone, we actually hot up, okay, use a gene sheet to hot up all the Zone A location to prevent them from going to another zone. Then there's only one location to come in and one location to come out of the zone itself. So this is Zone B, Zone C, and Zone D itself. For site zoning, we also have a sticker for this green zone. Okay, this one is subjected to approval because these personnel are subjected to work in different zone. Okay, so when they are working, the SDO have to keep a safe distancing measure of 2 meters. Okay, while they work. At rest area, we also have implementation of safe distancing measures such as tables and chairs with a 1 meter. Okay, this safe distancing. We also have contactless washing point and water point, whereby workers just step on the pedal, okay, and water will come out. We also required all the workers not to wear this headdress because this headdress actually will cover up the mask itself, and we don't know whether the mask are they wearing or not. So for us, we advise all our workers working on site, including the supervisors, not to wear any headdress, so that our SDM, SMO or SDO can inspect properly. For COVID safe site office, they will be arriving at 3 different arrival time, so that there were no intermixing with one another. Here is our COVID safe site office and facility. Implementation of the safe distancing measures on site. For staggered rest, lunch, dinner timing, okay, there will be a 2 separation of Group A and Group B. They will be given a separate timing to conduct their lunch and dinner. For dormitory residents staying at Tengah Plantation C3, okay, to have their lunch and dinner so that to avoid cross-contamination with other inbound workers coming to project and work. For cleaning and disinfestation, okay, we also carry out misting treatment 3 times per week. We also carry out cleaning regime, okay, for common areas on daily basis, for toilets, office, corridors, and staircase. Here is our personnel during carrying out the cleaning with the inspection checklist. This is the proper PPE that we are wearing, okay, for performing disinfection misting operation for areas such as dormitory, site office, and including rest areas. For delivery logistic procedures, security to take particulars of the delivery personnel, vehicle plate, time of entry and exit, destination zone, and contractor personnel is contact with. Okay, delivery drivers to park within the loading and loading bay, unload all the goods on the ground while you return back to the vehicle. Storeman shall approach the goods and receive the goods so that it can adapt contactless delivery. For drivers that need to be alike, such as ready-mixed concrete, soil truck, SDO have to ensure there is a minimum of 2 meters safe distancing to prevent in contact with any personnel working on site. So for emergency preparedness, we also have come out like flowchart dealing with COVID-19 suspected cases, whereby employees are found feeling unwell, showing symptoms of COVID-19. Okay, we will take precaution measures, okay, including we also have a isolate facility, which is a holding area for any suspected COVID-19 cases. So a wait for any emergency personnel. We also establish emergency assembly point for any suspected case of COVID-19 personnel. For contact tracing app, Trace Together must be on at all time during working time. Here is our flow chart for straight construction on handling of suspected case of COVID-19. This is our emergency assembly point, okay, to the respective area for gathering in case there is any COVID-19 suspected cases. Such as specialist, contractor, tester, vector control. Okay, for this kind of people who are authorized to commute to site on the need basis, shall try to avoid any direct interaction with any stay-in workers or personnel working on site. Okay, no entry to the main office other than the designated isolated office for them. To commute to site at different times, okay, well, most of them is out of the zone itself. Okay, the personnel, the short-term workers can actually go inside to carry out their work. For mechanics carrying out maintenance or repair of plant or equipment, shall work in isolation far away from the workers. Here is a sample short-term worker on the external party involved. This is our implementation on site. Here is our safe management checklist, which our SMO and SDO carry out the inspection, okay, on site to ensure all safe distancing measures are being implemented on site. And lastly, our innovation for SMMP. Okay, we got some innovation such as toilet flushing without a worker to press the flushing button. Okay, they just need to step on the yellow plate to reduce any touching of items. We also have a washing point, okay, without workers to turn off on the tap, just simply step on the plate itself. We also have a soap dispenser without worker pressing on the soap dispenser tab. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheng, Mr. Mohammed, and Mr. Goh for the presentations. Now we will move on to the Q&A segment. Ladies and gentlemen, you may raise your question by clicking the raise hand icon or type your questions under the Q&A button on the screen. I'll now hand over the time to the webinar chairpersons. Engineer Chew, Mr. So, and Mr. Koo, over to you, please.
Yeah, let me thank the two presenters for their excellent presentation. You know, the SMM measures that we have put on site are actually exemplary, you know. So if every site can follow those good practices, I'm sure there will not be any reoccurrence of any outbreak of COVID cases. Roy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think we have to be a bit more cautious at this stage. I don't think the industry can afford another circuit breaker. But these are the controls just only on the site. I think there are other controls that needs to be considered, especially transportation at the place of residence, whether the PBDs or FCDs, and also on the off days. I think it's a whole system that has to be watertight, not just not only just the construction sites itself.
Yes, I fully agree. So actually the concept is a bubble. No? The worker, ideally, the workers to stay together and work together at a designated zone, so that if there's any outbreak, if there's any, then it will only confine between that small bubbles and not would spread to the other teams of worker or to other workers who are working from other sites. So that is the idea of a bubble concept. If we can actually manage to do all this, I'm sure the COVID-19 cases will be definitely be contained and there would not be a major outbreak again. Bernard, do you have anything to add?
I guess the practice is always ideal, and the example that I share are great. So a lot of officers out there, take it back and see what we can do to really always bear in mind about cross infection, and that's something that we need to think. It's not only on site, but like what Engineer Chiu was mentioned, the bubble itself, the oversight itself. It just need another cluster, and then we're going to go into another CB. I think this is not any of the industry wants to happen as well.
Yeah, since the examples to me are very good, can it be shared to everybody, or so that they can also bring it up to their firm and share it with their colleagues? The two presenters, are they able to give consent for the material to be shared?
Our webinar chairs, we have obtained permission from the presenters to share their slides via PDF version to all the participants here today.
I see. Okay, good. So the participant can bring it back and share with their other colleague in the company. Yeah, that would be good. So now we take question from the floor.
Okay, we'll start with the applications. So if we have previously obtained BCA approval for our earlier projects, do we need to reapply for BCA approval for our other new projects? So the answer will be yes. For construction projects, application is project specific. Each project reference number to have one submission. How do we know whether we need to apply for approval from BCA or MTI? Currently, BCA approval is only required for construction projects, projects with project reference number where building plan submission is required. For resumption of business, firm may check MTI website for the list of approved SSIC code. If your business is not under the approved list of SSIC code, you may seek approval from MTI for a general or time-limited exemption on the MTI website via the covid.gobusiness.gov.sg.
Yeah, hi. So I will carry on the swab-related questions. The first one, who needs to go for swab tests? Singaporean PRs required to go for swab tests, or only foreign workers are required? So for our swab test requirement, you can refer to our BCA.
Wait, I can't hear properly. Can the...
Hi, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Is it better right now? Okay, yeah. So for the first question, right, you can actually refer to our BCA FAQ for our swab test requirement matrix. So generally for employees, regardless whether you are construction permit work pass holder or SCPR, you need to undergo the periodic swab if you enter the construction site. Whereas for those working in the non-construction works, such as the innovation works, FM or L&E, SE, PR, and EP are not required to be swapped, but for the other work pass holder, they need to be swapped. Okay, so for the next question, okay, our SRS account does not include our workers residing within the dorm. So do we need to make arrangement for the swab test, and how can we do that? Okay, so first thing is that for this SRS account, employers are unable to add or remove them from the SRS system because all this data are actually pre-populated from the MOM database. So in order to ensure that your foreign workers are in our SRS system, please make sure that the employers have updated their latest details, including their place of residence in their off-class or EPOL, and make sure that their DOMs has been cleared and DOM operators have updated their latest details to MOM as well. The third check will be whether their work passes are still valid and is not expired or cancelled. Okay, and also subsequently, they also need to make sure that they are not COVID-19 positive, and recovered workers will not be found in this system as well if they are recovered from the last 180 days. Workers who are actually under stay-home notice or under quarantine order will not be found in the system. Okay, next question. Does the main com need to arrange for swab tests for subcom workers even though subcom will apply through the SRS system? So currently, main com are not required to arrange the swab test for the subcontractor. It's actually the responsibility of the subcontractor to schedule their workers for the swab test appointment using SRS. So that's all from my end.
Hi, okay. I'm Ted here, and I'll be answering questions on behalf for the Safe Accommodation and Safe Transport. So for the first question, can a lorry go to different dormitories to pick up workers for the same project? So for this question, the answer is no. So by right, your lorry can go to different dormitories, but it has to be for different trips. So each trip, which means from the dorm to the work site, should only be carrying workers from that same dorm. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Can workers take public transport during their off days or after working hours? And what about workers working at construction site but not staying in the dormitories? So for this, we highly encourage employers to discourage their workers from taking public transport during their off days and after working hours. For the workers that are staying in the dormitories or the government source facilities or staying on site, they should not be allowed out. And for those staying in HDBs and PRPs, as far as possible, we would encourage employers to try and provide the necessities to your workers so that they do not have to travel out of their accommodations. Yeah. And for the next question, can work pass and S-pass holders travel in their employer's sedan car? For this, I think it is very similar to providing dedicated transport. So as long as you're, as an employer, you are only ferrying workers that are staying staying in one accommodation and they are going directly from the accommodation to the work site, then I think this is still fine. That's all for, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, safe work site. Do we need to have both SMO and SDO on site when there is work activity? And if we are carrying out works with about 8 workers, do we need SDO to be permanently on site, or can a worker leader report directly to SMO? Minimally, we feel SMO should check the site and ensure safe management measures are being implemented on site on a daily basis, and SDO to be on site whenever there's a work activity. This is to ensure that the workers adhere strictly to the measures, example, working within their work zone, safe distancing, wearing masks. So for a site with 8 workers, the worksite requirement is to have 1 SMO. So if the SMO cannot be full-time on site, then SDO should be full-time on site. We would suggest to get more workers trained for SDO or SMO whenever possible to ensure that there's adequate presence of SMO or SDO whenever there's activities. Next question. Can an SMO or SDO go to different zones within a project site to inspect and check compliance related to SMM? Yes, SDO and SMO are allowed to go into different zones to ensure the compliance of this SMM implementation. Is there a requirement for SMO inspection or SMM checklist or related documents to be in hard copy? There is no requirement that it has to be a hard copy, but there should be a clear zoning or demarcation plan somewhere on site to show or explain to the workers which zone they belong to, and also for A&I audits. For construction accounts with no specific work site, example, pre-con survey in open area, do we need safe entry? Safe entry is required if there's a boundary or hoarding to demarcate clearly a work area with access control. So if the pre-con survey is an open area, safe entry will not be able to be implemented. Can drivers and visitors to site scan safe entry QR code instead of safe entry NRIC? No, only safe entry NRIC can be implemented at entrance and exit of all work sites. That's all.
Thank you, Charmaine, Ming Yao, and Ted for answering the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, before the webinar, we asked you to submit the questions that you wish to be answered. So these are the top 10 questions which were submitted. Right now, we will open the time to address questions from the floor. We have Mr. Padikatsu Ganesan. Mr. Padikatsu Ganesan, are you there? Yes, kindly unmute and please ask your question. Mr. Padikatsu Ganesan, are you there? All right, we'll give you a bit more time to get ready. Can we invite the questioner from Mr. Shamugan? Mr. Shamugan, are you there? Kindly unmute your mic. You may ask your question. Okay, seems that Mr. Shamugan is not ready as well. Okay. Can we then invite Mr. Jana Kumar Selvam? Mr. Selvam, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, Mr. Selvam, please
Yes,
ask
sir.
your question. Thank you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sir, I am also SMO for our company. Just I want to confirm with you, our worker working in different locations. That means we are some worker go for site survey, some worker go for the replacement work, some worker go for the installation work. So it's not for the team basis, maybe 3 to 4 worker like that, every places. Also, I want to confirm with you, that time when my worker go, sometimes their food is spoiled, as well as sometimes they want to buy the drinks. So is there, the worker can go straight away, go the Kopitiam or any shopping mall or anything, just a safe entry procedure follow, then buy something food. Is it allowable one?
Okay, let me try to answer this question. I think the first question is regarding you have a small group of workers going to site, from site to site to perform some specific activities, right?
Yes, sir.
And I presume they are going there for, what's the duration? Maybe half a day?
Sometimes it's the full day.
Okay, whether it's half a day or full day. Okay, these are what we term specialist work. So in our guideline, we say that for such a specialist work, that when the workers go to the site, they must be properly segregated, and there must be a work zone that is very well defined, so that when they are there, there won't be mixings with any stay-in workers working on site. And we want an SDO to be there at all times to make sure that this specialist workers are doing the job, and the moment they get completed, they are out of the site. So again, the key thing is segregation, no mixings of workers.
Okay.
Then the second questions about workers going to kopitiam to buy drinks for other workers. I thought this should be arranged by the main contractors or the subcontractors, or unless you are referring to those very small sites.
Yeah, yes, sir. This one is was construction. This was HDP. We are the main contractor. So
Okay.
sometimes they go for the defect work, especially for the need to go for the different blocks, not for the own block.
Okay, so are these worker dedicated worker? That means their job is a general worker only to buy drinks and
Oh,
do
no,
or
no.
some. Huh?
This one, maybe we appointed for the 4 worker for one team. So the 4 people working one team, we cannot mix up the other teams. So the one of the worker, they can go by for sometime. Sometimes they tell me, the morning they take the 5:30 something, they take the food from the dormitory. When going to the on-site, they take after 11 o'clock or 11:30 something, they're going to eat for the lunchtime. But sometimes the food spoiled, or sometimes they want to buy some drinks.
Okay, actually, so if you look at, earlier on when we issue a circular, I think during the circuit breaker, we actually make it very clear that it's a duty of the main con to provide food to their workers so that the workers remain on site and don't go out.
Okay. Just I want to confirm with you, sir. Yeah. Okay. Is that possible? Sometimes my workers say, some materials the dormitory side don't have, the grocery shop don't have. They want to buy some snacks, also don't have. Also, for the breast or paste something, soap or something, they say sometimes they don't have. Then how can I? Is there need we can arrange for our worker buy for them?
No, you are talking about after working hours or during working hours?
After working hours.
Okay, after working hours, that's, I think you see, we want to prevent any contact.
Okay.
So my advice is they should minimize this contact as much as possible. So the more time you go out and do things and do errands, the more chances of you are getting infected.
Yes.
And therefore, once you get infected, you won't know until you are due for a swab test. And then you go down to the site, you mix with your team members. That's where infections get spread. So my advice is try to minimize any contact with the public or with other workers. That's my general advice. If you want to contain this COVID-19.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Janav Kumar. Thank you very much for your question. We'll now like to invite Mr. Jack Chua. Mr. Jack Chua, are you there? Yes, Mr. Jack Chua, please unmute your mic. You may ask your question.
Speaking on the behalf of Mr. Jack Chua, do you hear me?
Yes. Can you please identify yourself and then you can ask your question? Thank you.
We are from Chua Chuan Ho Construction. Okay, we have one project works at this at Fullerton, which our works involve structural repairs, which is at the underside, under deck of all those buildings there, which is Custom House and Clifford Pier. So there's actually no, can I say that it's not a construction site? Do we still have to like set up the QR code or NRIC entry?
Okay, let me take this question. I need to clarify whether for this structural repair work, is there any plan approval? That's my...
Yes, we require the BCA
plan approval.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so long as you have
structural repairs, right?
Correct. So if there's a plan approval, that will be considered a construction site. So you need to apply for a restart. Okay, and once we give you a restart approval, obviously a safe entry is required. You need to demarcate the extent of your site. Safe entry. That means the site is only solely for the subcontractors' use. And because it's a structural repair, I presume there's only one gang of workers. There's no other workers from other subcontractors, right?
Yes, correct. We are using our own own workers.
Correct. So this safe entry is required. So all your workers going in must be scanned using the NRIC. Of course, you must have make sure that the worker have the green status access code.
Okay. So it's not that we are using the QR code lah.
No, QR code it's not synchronized with the access code, MOM access code. So we won't know. We can't trace. No.
Because the structures are called like the columns and all that is actually at the open space. I mean, there's no demarcation of the. It's not let's say like those construction site with those gates and all that. No.
But it's still a construction site. That means the public can still go in, is it?
Not exactly, because it is actually the under deck of the buildings.
I know. Even though it's an open space, there's still a boundary.
Okay.
There's still a boundary. That means you don't have any hoarding. Do you have a hoarding?
Yes, no hoardings.
Yeah, I mean, but you still have some barricade because to make sure the public don't go in. Or other staff of the building don't go in.
How we assess the underdeck is actually by vessel. So yeah.
Oh, by vessels.
Yes, those non-motorized vessels.
Okay, so yours is a unique case. But even by vessels, you should also put your.
There's actually no security.
I know. That means underneath is the water, Marina Bay. Hello.
Hi, sorry. It seems that we've lost the participant. It's okay. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Did you hear me?
Yes, she's back.
Yes.
Right.
So basically, as far as we are concerned, you still need to have a safe entry. Maybe the safe entry, you can have a specific point where you can actually check your workers. That's the basis why about this safe entry. That means if the worker are unwell, you don't send them to do the repair work, you see, because it can infect other workers.
Okay. For example, let's say because prior to the COVID now, we actually need to sign into the building's management's security. So I believe now with this COVID thing, their security would have include example like scanning their temperature, taking all this kind of entry. So can we tap on their
you can do that.
Okay, so in this sense, we need not do the so-called safe entry ourselves
but you still need a safe entry, because we need a record. Yes, we need a record.
So likewise, temperature taking, once we sign in at the management's security, I still need to do a second round.
So maybe the safe entry, you do it there at the management office. This is one way.
Okay. Okay. For example, like just.
All right. Thank you very much. Next, let's invite Mr. Nadi Mutu Balaji. Mr. Nadi Mutu, are you there? Can you please unmute yourself? We'd like to hear your question. Mr. Nadi Mutu?
Yes.
Yes, please ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I ask a small question. The yes pass holder, work permit holder need to go for the swab test.
So this
need everyone or some of the worker?
So sir, this is Mia from the SWAT team. So just to understand better on your questions, right? If your workers are currently working in the construction site, yes, they need to go for their SWAT test.
Okay, sir. Because we work our company is 12%. We only go 5% only. The rest of the person only go blood test only. They also need the swab test.
Yes, as long as they actually enter the construction site to actually perform work, there's a requirement for them to actually go for the swab test.
Oh, okay, sir. That's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Balaji, for your question. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, webinar chairpersons, panelists, and speakers for the valuable insights about the good practices of safe management measures. It has been an engaging and fruitful session. We've come to the end of today's sessions. After exiting this webinar, you will be directed to access an evaluation form for today's session. The presentation materials will be made available at a later date. Also, we are pleased to share that BCA is now on Telegram, and you may wish to subscribe it to find out about the latest updates and information on the built environment sector. On this note, we thank you for your participation and for making today's webinar a success. We wish you and project teams a safe and smooth restart. Thank you.